The plot centers on an encounter between on-the-run embezzler Marion Crane and shy motel proprietor Norman Bates and its aftermath, in which a private investigator, Marion's lover Sam Loomis, and her sister Lila investigate her disappearance. Psycho is a 1960 American horror thriller film produced and directed by Alfred Hitchcock. The screenplay, written by Joseph Stefano, based on the 1959 novel of the same name by Robert Bloch. Film's budget is very low, even by 1960s standards. They filmed in black and white. Psycho is now considered one of Hitchcock's best films, and is arguably his most famous and influential work. It has been hailed as a major work of cinematic art by international film critics and scholars who praise its sleek direction, tense atmosphere, impressive camera work, memorable score, and iconic performances. Often ranked among the greatest films of all time, it set a new level of acceptability for violence, deviant behavior, and sexuality in American films, and has been considered to be one of the earliest examples of the slasher film genre. Phoenix real estate secretary Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, steals $40,000 cash from her employer after hearing her boyfriend, Sam, played by John Gavin, complain that his dates are delaying their marriage. They meet in cheap hotels in secret, so her motive for stealing money is love. This realistic setup is enough. Hitchcock's cameo is signature occurrence in most of his films. In Psycho, he can be seen through a window, wearing a Stetson hat, standing outside Marion's office. She sets off to drive to Sam's home in Fairwell, California, while taking nap in a car. Highway patrolman wakes her up and questions her. Later she switches cars and startled to see same patrolman. A heavy rainstorm forces Merion to stop at the Bates Motel, just a few miles from Fairwell. Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins, the proprietor, whose mansion-like house overlooks the motel. After initial formalities, he invites her to eat with him in the motel's office. When Norman returns to his house to retrieve the food, Marion hears him arguing with his mother about dying with Merion. After he returns, he discusses his hobby as a taxidermist, his mother's illness, and how people have a private trap they want to escape. When Merion suggests that Norman should have his mother institutionalized, he becomes greatly offended and insists that she is harmless. Merion decides to drive back to Phoenix in the morning. When Norman spies on Merion, Hitchcock said most audience members read it as a peeping Tom behavior. Truffaut observed that the film's opening with Merion in a bra and panties underlines the later voyeurism. We have no idea murder is in store. Perkins, played very complex character of Norman, shows there is something wrong with him. As Merion showers, a shadowy figure enters the bathroom and stabs her to death. The murder of Leigh's character in the shower is the film's pivotal scene and one of the best known in cinema history. The finished scene runs some 3 minutes, and its flurry of action and edits has produced a contradictory attempts to count its parts. Hitchcock himself contributed to this pattern, telling Truffaut that there were 70 camera setups for 45 seconds of footage, and maintaining to other interviewers that there were 78 pieces of the film. Some counts the 50 cuts, some 60, but overall around 60 cuts. You can watch the shower scene clip on YouTube. Shortly afterward, Norman comes to check on Merion, only to discover her dead body. Horrified, he hurriedly cleans up the murder scene. He then puts Marion's body, her belongings, and unknown to him, the hidden cash in her car, then sinks the car in a swamp. Killing of Leigh's character at the end of the first act, this daring plot device, coupled with the fact that the character was played by the biggest box office name in the film, was a shocking turn of events in 1960 and even now also. The shower scene's effectiveness is often credited to the use of startling editing techniques borrowed from the Soviet montage filmmakers. This film, edited by George Tomasini, and to the iconic screeching violins in Bernard Herrmann's musical score. His score added tension and drama to the film. Score is eloquent and atmospheric. Marion's sister Lila, played by Vera Miles, arrives in a Fairwell a week later, tells Sam about the theft and demands to know where Merion is. He denies knowing anything about her disappearance. A private investigator named Arbogast, played by Martin Balsam, approaches them, saying that he has been hired to retrieve the money. He stops at the Bates Motel and questions Norman. whose nervous behavior, stuttering, and inconsistent answers are suspicious. He examines the guest register and discovers from her handwriting that Merion spent a night in the motel. When Arbogast infers from Norman and Merion had spoken to his mother, he asks to speak to her, but Norman refuses to allow it. After Arbogast enters the Bates home to search for Norman's mother, the shadowy figure assaults him at the top of the stairs and stabs him to death. The screenplay is relatively faithful to the novel, with a few significant changes by Hitchcock and Stefano. Stefano found the character of Norman Bates unsympathetic in the book. He is middle-aged, overweight, and more overtly unstable, but became more intrigued when Hitchcock suggested casting Anthony Perkins. Stefano eliminates Bates' drinking, which necessitated removing Bates becoming the mother personality when in a drunken stupor. Also gone is Bates' interest in spiritualism, the occult, and pornography. Hitchcock and Stefano elected to open the film with scenes in Marion's life and not introduce Bates at all until 20 minutes into the film, rather than open with Bates reading a history book as Bloch does. He likewise mentions the absence of hotel tryst between Marion and Sam in the novel. For Stefano, the conversation between Marion and Norman in the hotel parlor, in which she displays maternal sympathy towards him, makes it possible for the audience to switch their sympathies towards Norman Bates after Marion's murder. When Sam and Lila do not hear back from Arbogast, Sam goes to the motel to look for him. He sees a figure in the house he assumes is Norman's mother. Lila and Sam alert to the local sheriff, Al Chambers, who tells them Norman's mother died in a murder or suicide by strychnine poisoning 10 years earlier. Chambers suggests that Arbogast lied to Sam and Lila so he could pursue Merion and the money. Convinced that something happened to Arbogast, Lila and Sam drive to the motel. Sam distracts Norman in the office while Lila sneaks into the house. Suspicious, Norman knocks Sam unconscious. As he goes to the house, Lila hides in the fruit cellar, where she discovers the mummified body of Norman's mother. Lila screams in horror, and Norman, wearing woman's clothes and wig, enters the cellar and tries to stab her. Sam appears and subdues him. The past is central to the film. The main characters struggle to understand and resolve destructive personal histories, and ultimately fail. Merion is deprived of the humble treasure of love, marriage, home, and family, which Hitchcock considers elements of human happiness. There exists among Psycho's secondary characters a lack of familial warmth and stability, which demonstrates the unlikelihood of domestic fantasies. Norman has an infantile and divided personality, and lives in a mansion whose past occupies the present. Norman displays stuffed birds that are frozen in time and keeps childhood toys and stuffed animals in his room. He is hostile towards suggestions to move from the past, such as with Marion's suggestion to put his mother someplace, and as a result kills Marion to preserve his past. There are a number of references to birds. Norman's hobby is stuffing birds. Marion's last name is Crane, and she is from Phoenix. Norman comments that she eats like a bird. The motel room has pictures of birds on the wall. Robert Allen suggests that Norman's mother is his original stuffed bird, both in the sense of having preserved her body and the incestuous nature of Norman's emotional bond with her. At the police station, a psychiatrist explains that Norman killed his mother and her lover 10 years earlier out of jealousy. Unable to bear the guilt, he mummified his mother's corpse and treated it as if she were still alive. He recreated his mother as an alternative personality, as jealous and possessive towards Norman as he felt about his mother. Whenever Norman is attracted to a woman, mother takes over. He killed 2 women before he killed Marion and Arbogast. The psychiatrist concludes that mother has now submerged Norman's personality. Norman sits in a jail cell and hears his mother's voice, saying the murders were all his doing. Marion's car, which contains her remains and the stolen money, is retrieved from the swamp. In his documentary, The Pervert's Guide to Cinema, Slavoj Zizek remarks that Norman Bates' mansion has 3 floors, paralleling the 3 levels of the human mind that are postulated by Freudian psychoanalysis. The top floor would be the superego, where Bates' mother lives. The ground floor is then Bates' ego, where he functions as an apparently normal human being, and the basement would be Bates' id. Zizek interprets Bates moving his mother's corpse from top floor to basement as a symbol for the deep connection that psychoanalysis poses between superego and id. Even after repeated watching, Psycho continues to be a frightening thriller. Enjoy the film. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and share this video. Do subscribe to the channel and don't forget to click the bell icon.